As more people vote by mail, the Trump campaign has revisited its latest plan to undermine our democratic process and bypass election results by placing GOP loyalists as electors in battleground states. So this is an act that might get challenged in the courts, but it is important to know what the Trump campaign is thinking and how they plan on challenging the popular votes in various states. So sources in the Republican Party at both state and national levels say that the campaign is considering a plan to bypass the popular vote results and install its own electors in key battleground states where the legislatures are controlled by Republicans. So this is how their plan would work. With a justification based on claims of rampant fraud, Trump would ask state legislators to set aside the popular vote and exercise their power to choose a slate of electors directly. The longer Trump succeeds in keeping the vote count in doubt, the more pressure legislators will feel to act before the safe harbor deadline expires. So the campaign plans to, as I mentioned, target swing states. The Trump campaign's plans would focus on pivotal swing states with Republican-led legislatures, including Arizona, Florida, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Arizona and Florida have also have Republican governors, while the latter states have Democratic governors. And so, John, I want to get your thoughts on this because Cenk and I engaged in a little bit of a debate yesterday. He felt weirdly and shockingly confident in calling the election a month out, and he believes that Biden's going to win by a landslide. And he shared some of the differences between the election in 2016 and what we're experiencing now. I do want to note that Hillary Clinton in October of 2016 held a gigantic national lead over Trump. I think it was about 12%. So that's why I'm not that. I refuse to be overly confident. I refuse to be confident. Actually, I prefer to be pessimistic and then pleasantly surprised. But nonetheless, like the big wild card in this election is the pandemic and is all the different ways in which the Trump campaign, with the help of Republicans, is attempting to cheat his way to victory, right? Dismantling the post office, stunts like his electors that I just described right now. I mean, we're seeing all these cases all over the country. And I think, Cenk disagrees with me, but I think that it could really have an impact on the outcome of the election if Democrats don't do something about it immediately.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely think that they should be ready not only for this plan, but for others as well. I take a little bit of issue with the comparison because I don't think anyone should be complacent. Everyone should vote. A lot of you should have already voted, honestly. You could do it now. Like you could have one tab that has us speaking, the other tab you could be registering, getting your ballot together, all that. But I mean, I'm looking at the Real Clear Politics 2016 national poll, like day by day thing, and she was at 4.6 nationally on October 7th. Now that does not and Biden's at 2 to 3 times that. Now that doesn't mean that Biden's going to win. The Electoral College is a tricky, fickle, I almost swore, thing. But I do think regardless of what happens in the polls, we do have to be ready for the machinations behind the scene. The legislature is just saying, screw the results, we're gonna give the votes to whoever we want. I don't think that that's the most likely thing that they're there to do because I think that that's pretty see-through. I think that most Americans would understand that if some state decided, okay, Biden won, but we're giving the votes to Trump anyway, then we don't have a democracy. Like at that point, it's all a sham. If one state can do it, then every state can do it, and you don't have a democracy. But I think the Supreme Court potentially stepping in, stopping the votes from being counted and stuff like that, that is a more likely hypothetical, especially because it's kind of a hypothetical that we've already played out on the national stage in an example like this. But this one should definitely be something that teams of lawyers working for the Democratic Party are getting ready for. They cannot afford to be blindsided by this, a day or a week after the election.
So one of Trump's campaign advisors, legal advisor, spoke to The Atlantic and made it clear that the effort in basically implementing Trump's electors would be framed as protecting the will of the people, literally the exact opposite of what they're actually doing. So the legal advisor to the Trump campaign, who refused to identify himself for this story, gave this quote to The Atlantic. The state legislatures will say, all right, we've been given this constitutional power. We don't think the results of our own state are accurate. So here's our slate of electors that will think properly, that we think properly reflect the results of our state. The advisor said that by extending long windows for mail-in ballots to be counted after election day, Democrats have exposed the tabulation process to allegations of inaccuracy and fraud. So basically, they're going to try to take advantage of the fact that Democrats have made it easier for people who want to vote. Republicans and the Trump campaign in particular are going to take that. And I mean, we've already seen a lot of it in the news, basically put out these allegations of fraud and abuse and nonsense. And
can I ask you a question? So like you're doing a great job of laying out what the plan is, and the article explains how they would pitch it. I think it would be very see-through. Hopefully the media wouldn't decide that this is a moment they need to be neutral and not, call it for what it is. But the scenario that you are sketching out, like, what does your gut say? Would they try to do it? Could you imagine them actually trying to do that in Florida or
John, they're performing hysterectomies on immigrant women in detention centers, and no one people talked about it for a day. Like, it's transparent. Everything that this campaign has done, everything the Trump administration has done in their cruelty and their selfishness and their incompetence, they've been transparent about all of it. Are we really gonna wait for the media to save us if they try to steal the election using this strategy? Come on. All it takes is for Trump to do another sideshow Bob nonsense maneuver, and all of a sudden it's like, whoop, squirrel. Trump, look at what Trump tweeted. I mean, that's what happens every day. It happens every day.
He's gonna accidentally trip and get a plastic bag wrapped around his head or something. He now knows the template to get the media distracted totally. Me asking you the question is not me saying I can't imagine it happening. I hope that it won't come to that, because that really is the fall of America type stuff. I mean, obviously the suppression is absolutely barbaric that they're already doing, but I can't imagine anything more see-through than the states deciding that we're just gonna do whatever we want at this point. So much else would become just a sham when they do that.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat, emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.